Now, let us understand the role of banking. The first role of bank is it encourages saving habits amongst people and thereby making funds available for different type of uses. And the second role of bank is it acts as an intermediary between people having surplus money and those who require money for various business activities. Now, the third role of banking explains that it facilitates business transactions through receipts and payments by check instead of keeping the currency. The fourth role of banking explains that it provides loan and advances to businessmen for short-term and long-term purposes. And also the fifth point explained that it also facilitates import-export transactions for the other places which are far off from our place. The sixth point explains the role of banking. It helps in national development by providing credit to farmers, small scale industries and self-employed people, as well as to large business houses, which leads to balanced economic development in the country. In case if we ask them to stop their work, then the process will be obstructed. So, we can say that it is the role of bank for development of our nation. Seventh point explains that there are different kinds of people living in general, and bank helps in raising the standards of living by providing different loans for the purchase of consumers and their durable goods like houses, automobiles. And this chart you can see on the screen, it explains different kinds of banks. These banks we will be understanding further now. The first column was stating the central bank. As we know that there are different kinds of bank, and all the banks are controlled by our government of India. So, a central bank is a bank which is entrusted with the functions of guiding and regulating the banking system of our country. That is known as central bank. And these bank does not deal with the general public, but the central bank, they provide guidance to other banks whenever they have any problem, then they give advice and they solve their issues. So, that is the work of central bank. The third work is that central bank maintains the records of government revenue, and also along with revenue, they keep the record of all the expenditures under various heads. And the fourth work of central bank explains they advises the government on monetary and credit policies, and also they decide on the interest rates for all the bank deposits and for all the bank loans. The fifth work of central bank explains these are some more important functions of the central bank, and it is the issuance of currency notes and regulating their circulation in the country by different methods. Now there are some commercial banks as well. So commercial banks are those banking institutions that accepts the deposits and also they grant short-term loans and advances to the customers. So the loans, they are short-term loans, or also they sometimes give advance to the customers. And in addition to the giving short-term loans, commercial bank, they also give medium-term and long-term loan to business enterprises. Now, we have understood the different kinds of bank. So these are the commercial banks. Nowadays, some of the commercial banks are also providing housing loans and long-term basis to the people who need it. You can say that they are the long-term loans, they are not the short terms. Like for buying the house, you need some more money like 50 lakh or 60 lakh, and also the time duration is also a long time. So that is done by the commercial banks. Now, let us understand the types of commercial banks. There are different types of commercial banks. There are some private banks, there are some foreign banks, and also there are some public sector banks. Let us first understand the public sector bank. These are the banks where majority of the stake is held by Government of India or the RBI, which is known as Reserve Bank of India. You can see on the screen the State Bank of India, the Corporation Bank, the Bank of Baroda, the Punjab National Bank, the Canara Bank, Bank of India, and Oriental Bank of Commerce. There are so many banks. All those banks are Indian bank. Now this second point explains the private sector bank. Private sector banks, majority of the share capital of the bank is held by private individuals. These banks are registered as companies with limited liability. That we will be understanding in further example. This is the example which you can see on the screen. So there are some banks like ICICI Bank, then there are some Development Credit Bank Limited, also Lord Krishna Bank Limited, then there is Bharat Overseas Bank Limited, and also Global Trust Bank. So these are all banks, these are all examples which comes under corporate bank. Now the third one is foreign banks which are outside of our country. So we all know that banks are registered and have their headquarters. There are private and government, different kinds of bank. So when banks are registered and they have their headquarters in a foreign country, but they operate their branches in our country. So those banks are known as foreign banks. Further, we will understand by some more examples. This you can see that HSBC or some American Express Bank or Standard Chartered Bank. There are many more banks which are foreign banks like Grindley Bank, and their headquarter is in their own country, but they have their branches in our country. So they are all known as foreign banks. The foreign banks, they started operating in India since a very long time, and now it has increased the financial sector reforms. Now let us understand the development banks. We all know that businesses often require medium and long-term capitals for purchase of machinery and equipments, and also for using latest technology or for expansion and modernization also. So financial assistance is required, and sometimes when it is very high in amount, then the development bank accepts and they provide us the loan. As we all know that Development Bank of India helps in giving loan for providing assistance and for our Indian development. They also undertake other development measures like public sector banks. It comprises 19 nationalized banks and State Bank of India and its 7 associate bank subscribing to the shares and debentures issued by companies. In case of undersubscription of the issue by the public. So all this is under the supervision of Development Bank, whether it is private bank or it is a government bank. They supervise the work. Now this development bank that you can see on the screen is IFCI. Its full form is Industrial Finance Corporation of India. and state financial corporation. These are the examples of development banks of India. They provide loan for different kinds of work. Now let us understand the cooperative banks. As we know that cooperative banks are a financial entity which belongs to its members who are at the same time the owners and the customers of their bank. And cooperative banks are often formed by persons belonging to the same local or professional community. Or sometimes they share a common interest so that they can all work together for the local benefit. They all share and set up these cooperative banks. When this cooperative bank is formed, there are different members and they provide different services to their own members only. So when a cooperative society engages itself in banking business, it is called a cooperative bank. Because people themselves form and decide to work together. There are different kinds of types of cooperative banks. The first type is primary credit society. The second type of cooperative bank is central cooperative bank. And the third type of cooperative bank is state cooperative bank. The first one is a smaller unit and the central and cooperative bank is a little bigger than the smaller one. Further, we will understand. Just as we discussed, the primary credit societies, these are formed at the village or town level with borrower and sometimes non-borrower members residing in one locality. The operation of each society is restricted to a small area so that the members know each other and they are able to watch over the activities of all the members to prevent any fraud or anything which is not good. So these are the primary credit societies. And these central cooperative banks are little bigger than the primary societies. These banks operate at the district level, having some of the primary credit societies belonging to the same district as their members. And these banks provide loans to their members, and those members are from the primary credit societies. And they function as a link between the smaller bank, which is the primary credit societies, and the state cooperative banks, which are the third kind, or you can say type of bank. As we have understood the two different types of banks, now this is the third, state cooperative banks. These are the apex, or you can see the highest level of cooperative banks in all the states of the country. They mobilize funds and they also help in its proper channelization among various sectors. The money reaches the individual borrowers from the state cooperative banks through the medium level central cooperative banks and the highest level primary credit societies. So we can say that they form a chain and they form a link with each other. By supporting each other from smaller to higher, from higher to smaller, they form a link. And their own members, because they have faith for each person, they know each other, so they work together in a team. Thank you. Namaskar.